Welcome! Thank you for joining us for our second open house this year. The information we will share with you today is focused on the feedback we have heard from the community. My name is Vicki Grover and I am the project manager for the City of Bremerton. If you have comments or questions, please reach out to me. My contact information will be provided at the end of the presentation and is also on our website at www.bremerton2044.com. The City of Bremerton is updating our comprehensive plan to guide how we grow and develop our city, thinking about where we want to be now and 20 years from now. We started this work in late 2023 and want to update you on our progress and invite you to provide additional input. Here is our agenda for this meeting. First, we are going to share a brief overview of the transportation plans we are updating. Then we will talk about how we decide which projects to include in the plans. Next, we will share the feedback we heard from the community through this process and what data we collected for both the transportation element of Bremerton's comprehensive plan update and our active transportation plan. Finally, we will conclude with how you can provide input and stay informed as we finish developing the plans. We are updating the transportation element of Bremerton's comprehensive plan, which will guide the city's growth and development over the next 20 years. This element will ensure we have a transportation roadmap to maintain a safe, efficient, and integrated multimodal transportation system. Multimodal refers to all modes of transportation: vehicles, transit, bicycles, and pedestrians. Puget Sound Regional Council has estimated the city will grow 46% in the next 20 years. So it is essential that we have transportation plans that can support that growth. The active transportation plan, formerly known as the non-motorized transportation plan, focuses specifically on non-motorized transportation such as bicycle and walking routes. The city originally adopted this plan in 2007, and we are updating it at the same time as the transportation element, so these plans will work together. We have been gathering data and input over the past year to finalize the transportation element of Bremerton's 2024 Comprehensive Plan Update and the Active Transportation Plan. This process includes gathering community feedback. This graphic shows all the ways we have engaged with the Bremerton community about transportation and future transportation plans. We have informally gathered feedback through sidewalk events and formally through our online survey and our first online open house, which ran from January 19th to February 15th of this year. Most recently, we collected feedback for the active transportation plan through our interactive web map, focused on the bicycle priority network and the pedestrian priority network. I will share more information about what we learned through this engagement later in the presentation. In addition to public input, we looked at current traffic data. Last year, we collected traffic data for the morning and the evening commutes, including traffic at more than 90 city intersections. We also looked at the city's active transportation network and evaluated the level of traffic stress felt by pedestrians and cyclists, and created a recommended map of improvements based on that data, and then shared through our web map to collect additional feedback. As part of this process, we also modeled future traffic conditions to provide a good understanding of how traffic will change in the future and where improvements may be needed to be consistent with planned growth and city standards. We want to be sure we have a plan that will accommodate future growth in a sustainable way. All of these components come together to shape the transportation element of the comprehensive plan and the active transportation plan. For the transportation element, we have evaluated the potential long-term deficiencies at major intersections in the city based on our current level of service or LOS standards. The deficiencies based on the current LOS means intersections that have a delay longer than acceptable based on the standards set by either the city or WSDOT, Washington State Department of Transportation, depending on the intersection. In addition, we modeled future traffic levels at the same intersections and looked at the expected delay as measured by our LOS standards to identify intersections that will require attention in the future over the next 20 years. We looked at concurrency requirements for recent amendments to the Growth Management Act, or GMA. When I talk about concurrency, I mean the provision of public services or facilities that support new development at or shortly after the time it occurs. This means that the city will consider transportation improvements and strategies needed to accommodate future growth in Bremerton through 2044 as part of our plan updates for the future of Bremerton's transportation system. These data points help us to get a good picture of what the travel demand will be in the future and what capacity we have in our current transportation system to support that demand. In Bremerton, we have a projected growth of 46% over the next 20 years, which means we have considerable work to do to accommodate this growth in a sustainable way. This map shows the current and future intersections that are or will perform below our LOS standard over the next 20 years based on the data we have collected. The city's intersection that currently performs below standard is Kitsap Way and Marine Drive. Other city intersections identified as operating below the city's level of service standard in the future are Kitsap Way and State Route 3 southbound ramps, Kitsap Way and Corbett Drive, Warren Avenue and Burwell Street, and Wheaton Way and Sheridan Road. This map shows the improvements that we plan to include in the transportation element of the comprehensive plan to meet concurrency requirements. We have identified 6 total projects that we will need to complete by 2044. Most of these projects have already been identified in earlier transportation plans. We will include these concurrency projects as well as other transportation projects for the next 20 years in the transportation element. For the active transportation plan, we consolidated active transportation projects from prior and ongoing planning efforts as a starting point. These included the 2007 non-motorized transportation plan, the previous comprehensive plan, the State Route 303 corridor plan, the Joint Compatibility Transportation Plan, the West Kitsap Way Planning Study, which is ongoing, and the current Capital Improvement Program and sub-area plans. We then created priority network maps to show where the city could prioritize future investments and shared them recently with the community for input through the interactive priority network map. So what have we heard from you and the broader Bremerton community? As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, we fielded a public transportation survey from January 19th to February 15th of this year. Overall, many participants shared their thoughts and ideas on how to improve transportation in Bremerton. Here are the top themes. We should improve transportation infrastructure. Respondents thought that we should aim improvements at reducing traffic congestion and speeding on city streets and address road maintenance issues and improve parking management. Respondents also said that we should reduce car dependency by connecting downtown through frequent low-cost transit service, update zoning to develop walkable neighborhoods, and coordinate with major employers to reduce the number of cars on roadways during peak hours. Also important to many responders was improving bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure. And we should increase transit services for the bus and ferry systems. Some participants wanted the city to increase monitoring or control over transportation systems, including more enforcement. This feedback fits into both the transportation element and the active transportation plan. To gather additional input on the city's priorities for investing in key active transportation connections, we created a draft priority network map for bicycles and pedestrians. These networks were taken from the 2007 non-motorized plan and based on the data we gathered from the active transportation technical analysis and other planning efforts. These networks show where future improvements could be prioritized for funding and partnerships with other agencies. However, the network map does not capture all the projects developed as part of other plans or included as capital projects. We posted this interactive map to our website. The engagement process lasted 3 weeks, and we received a total of 225 comments, 8 emails, and letters from the public. First up is the draft pedestrian priority network. The map shown on this slide is a screenshot of the draft priority network routes for pedestrians. The priority network highlights routes that we are looking to prioritize for future improvements, not necessarily routes that are ideal for use right now. The map shown on this slide is a screenshot of where people submitted comments on the interactive pedestrian network. There was a total of 57 comments regarding the medium and high priority pedestrian network. 12% of these comments directly addressed the draft priority network, while the rest were specific requests for sidewalk improvements at particular locations within the network. Locations with the highest number of comments about pedestrian facilities included 4th Street, primarily requests for crossing improvements in areas where pedestrians feel unsafe, as well as traffic calming measures to address cut-through traffic. 6th Street, many comments focused on the need for safer pedestrian crossings. 11th Street, similar to 6th Street, comments highlighted concerns about crossing safely. And finally, Park Avenue. Requests included traffic calming, sidewalk gap filling, and a redesign of the street to improve pedestrian safety. Next up is the Draft Bicycle Priority Network. A significant portion of the overall feedback, 68%, focused on the Bike Priority Network, reflecting strong community interest in enhancing bicycling infrastructure. The map shown on this slide is a screenshot of where people submitted comments on the interactive bicycle network. Comments included support and proposed revisions to the network, as well as desired improvements along these networks. The most frequently mentioned location for comments on the Priority Bike Network included 4th Street. Although the bike network focused on 5th and 6th Streets to minimize out-of-direction travel, many bicyclists preferred to travel along 4th Street and supported its inclusion in the network. State Route 303 north of the Warren Avenue Bridge. People raised concerns about northbound users' access to adjacent roads. Respondents preferred a separate bike connection instead of the proposed route along the northbound off-ramp shared with cars. Burwell Street. Respondents supported extending the bike corridor along Burwell Street west of State Route 304. State Route 3, State Route 16 corridor through Gorst. We received mixed feedback from the community here, with some support for future corridor facilities, but concerns about heavy traffic. Since this is a state route, WashDOT would lead any improvements, and given its location in a population center, the corridor is likely to meet complete street thresholds that would require the inclusion of bicycle and pedestrian facilities for future improvements. We have highlighted this spot as a future facility that WashDOT could implement in partnership with the city. View Ridge Elementary area. Comments pointed out inconsistencies between planned facilities and the draft bike network, which follows roadways rather than alleys. We are planning for shared use pathways here as part of the Safe Routes to School program. Tracyton Beach Road. Some requested upgrading this from a medium to a high priority bike network route. We categorize this route as medium priority due to its recreational users, as the high priority network is intended only for routes serving all ages and abilities. A key point to consider about the priority map is the survey was an opportunity for the city to define and clarify the purpose of priority networks. Other key points to communicate include current inclusion on the network doesn't imply it's the best route today. The priority network highlights routes that we are looking to prioritize for future improvements, not necessarily routes that are ideal for use right now. A priority bike network does not equal a designated bike route. The priority networks are also not intended to capture all potential active transportation projects, but to help the city prioritize improvements for near and long-term implementation with limited funding. We should better explain high versus medium priority networks. High priority networks focus on providing the most direct paths to key active transportation destinations and include all users. We mark a network medium priority if the network is generally intended for recreational users. The priority network identifies future improvement corridors, not active bike routes. We selected these locations to reduce out-of-direction travel. meaning to separate drivers and bicyclists. They serve as key areas for development, but they are not yet designated bike routes. We also need to communicate the continued collaboration needed with county and state. While the network primarily focuses on city areas, collaborative efforts with the county and the state are a priority. Some comments suggested adding more segments outside the city, but the network remains focused on balancing city and regional coordination. All the feedback collected during this engagement will play a crucial role in determining where the city focuses its investments in active transportation. Thank you to everyone that participated. This shows the draft Active Transportation Plan vision and goals. Bremerton's Active Transportation Plan reaffirms the city's commitment to provide a safe, connected, and comfortable transportation network for people of all ages and abilities to walk, bike, and roll. The plan identifies opportunities to expand the existing active transportation network through infrastructure improvements and new connections for everyday trips. An integrated transportation system will balance the needs of all users, providing safe and efficient connections for everyone to walk, bike, or roll where they need to go. These elements, when finalized, will be posted to our website and implemented in Bremerton's transportation plan. But I will go over a few goals from the draft proposal now. Safety. Adopt a safe system approach. We aim to design a transportation system to protect vulnerable users, prevent crashes, and minimize harm when they occur. The U.S. DOT developed the Safe System Approach, which prioritizes the elimination of crashes that result in death and serious injuries. It works by building and reinforcing multiple layers of protection to both prevent crashes from happening in the first place and minimize the harm caused to those involved when crashes do occur. It is a holistic and comprehensive approach that provides a guiding framework to make places safer for people. You can see the elements of the Safe System Approach displayed in the graphic. As part of this approach to safety, we strive to achieve Vision Zero, a future where Bremerton's multimodal transportation system experiences zero traffic deaths or serious injuries. Vision Zero is a goal to eliminate all traffic fatalities and severe injuries while increasing safe, healthy, equitable mobility for all. Sweden first adopted Vision Zero at the national level, and from there it spread around the world. Many governments and agencies in Washington have adopted Vision Zero resolutions, policies, or action plans, including WashDOT and Kitsap County. The next element is comfort. We will work to provide active transportation facilities that are comfortable for people of all ages and abilities on high-quality walking and biking routes. Connectivity. We will complete a citywide network of bikeways and pedestrian infrastructure that includes efficient and convenient connections to destinations such as work, shopping, education, services, recreation, and other destinations. Equity. We will invest in active transportation infrastructure in the communities that need it most and eliminate disparities and promote safe and healthy connections for people walking, biking, and rolling. Mode share. We will prioritize improvements that encourage people to make everyday trips by active transportation modes in Bremerton. And finally, partnerships. We will collaborate with state, local, nonprofit, and private partners to improve regional active transportation connections and access. Our goal is to create a plan that supports the City of Bremerton's broader goals for people and goods movement, transportation safety, and the enhancement of the quality of life in the Bremerton 2024 Comprehensive Plan and Active Transportation Plan. These are the next milestones to finish the transportation element and the Active Transportation Plan. We will finalize the Active Transportation Priority Network project list, incorporating feedback from the community, and finalize the transportation element for environmental review before the end of the year. We are also working to finalize concurrency update recommendations, and finally, we will present the draft Active Transportation Plan and Transportation Element for Bremerton City Council review. As mentioned earlier, an important part of this process is feedback from those who live, work, and travel throughout Bremerton. Your experiences walking through downtown, taking the bus, and driving through our neighborhoods will influence the transportation system. Your participation will help us shape the future of transportation in Bremerton. Please join us at Norm Dix Government Center for an in-person opportunity to meet with the team and discuss our progress on Tuesday, October 8th, 2024. We will begin at 5 p.m. and end at 7 p.m. If you have any questions or comments about any of the material I have shared today, please submit them to Complan, COMPPLAN at ci.bremerton.wa.us, or you can contact me directly at Vicky, VICKI, .Grover, GROVER, at ci.bremerton.wa.us. Thank you again for joining us and for your participation in the City of Bremerton's transportation plans. Have a great day.